Can Uncle TJ hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Summer had some stuff. She felt like I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Summer is the one who is the originator of, hey, we need to capture
I
Uncle
spoke
TJ
with Summer
talking about
already.
whatever because we don't like. She was saying uh, it's one thing to tell people about him after it's gone. It's another one to show him how he looked, how he made gestures, how his voice sounded, all of that. So she was really willing to come. I don't know what particular questions she had, but she was like she was the one who was the originator of this idea, and so whatever that might help you throw in as far as your whatever you throw in. I mean, we just want you to educate us because I mean you are the guy right now.
Yep.
So that, so whatever you feel like we need to be talked to about, we just want to capture you for real, basically for future's sake, even after you're gone. Like that's what we try to capture.
Mm.
All right, let's do one thing.
What it is that you were impart to us for guidance, like whatever, wherever you want to go.
Well, y'all need to know that I don't know what y'all's ideas of what he was like, but from my point of view, he was a bullshitter. He was full of shit. I ain't gonna sugarcoat nothing. He didn't. He had a bunch of kids. Didn't give a damn about none of them. Even his grandkids, he didn't give a fuck about them. Now, if somebody say I'm lying, they need to kiss my ass because I'm telling you the truth. He tried to, especially you, make you see that he was the greatest, but he wasn't. Yeah, I know. When me and you talked about this earlier, that he wasn't what he appeared to be to none of us. And me and Wooly and Joe had the blunt of what he was really like. He wasn't loving. He was a real fool. Yeah, something. This is something that none of y'all knew. He took me over his girlfriend's house. I didn't know it was his girlfriend's. Hell, I was too little. My mama asked me where we went, and I told her. He beat the shit out of me. He whooped me with a coal shovel. Y'all don't know what that is. And he's put a gash under my eye. For years, I hated him for that. He cleaned up until I had kids. I still hated him for it. But I had to let that go. So I quit hating him. And then I just felt sorry for him because he was from the old school. Daddy come out the South. He didn't know shit. He thought he did, just like most of us today. We think we know what the fuck we doing. We don't. We just here. He thought that he controlled stuff. He didn't control none of y'all, mama. He was just dumb. Yeah, if what I'm saying you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's where it happened. Your mother, when he went down south, when he come back, then I found out I had a sister. Your mother. When he went to Gary, Indiana, I found out I had a sister, Sheila, right here in St. Louis. Debbie's mom, I found out about her. All of this is when I was growing up. Made me mad because I didn't think that he should do anybody like that. And he didn't care about none of them. But they thought he did, but he didn't. Daddy just wanted to stick his dick in something. And he did. Tolan's mama, Charlie's mama, Cedric's mama, and a few others. You know, if you want to talk about what y'all plan on doing, I mean that's on y'all. But it's gonna take all of y'all to do what I tried to do before, to start that money saving thing, where everybody got had some money in and they got paid once a month. Now that works. Because me and Valerie and Chevy and Ernest is doing it. It works. But it ain't no whole lot of money, but it's just to help each other. And if y'all did it, shit, y'all have some money. Ain't nobody got no business being in debt. Not with all of y'all. Daddy had a lot of babies. And if all of them got together, ain't nobody got no business being broke. And all of y'all should help each other. Because ain't nobody outside of the family is going to treat the family like family. They ain't going to do nothing for you. They'll talk about it. They ain't going to do shit. And just among y'all, one get mad at the other and y'all don't want to do for nothing. When you get through, you still family. All y'all come from one dude. And it don't make no difference how many mamas there is, but everybody come from daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it's going to always be. Even though you argue, you fight, you do whatever. But when you get through, you can't change that. Just like the kids y'all got, you can't change it. You might want to. The women might make you think you should, but you can't do that.
Question.
Go.
I understand where you are with your father, and personally, I'm not offended by anything you say because it's your perception. That's quite fine. Is there any was there any lasting positive effect he left on your life? Any positive
Anything
impression?
good from him?
Anything good you took from him that you can recall in this moment today?
Yeah. I took the mechanic side of it.
Okay.
Daddy was a damn good mechanic.
Okay.
Nigga just didn't keep no job. But he was a real good mechanic.
Okay.
That's the only thing that positive that I can think of.
All right.
Now, my son Tony took the bike after him, and Maria.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Daddy did. He rode a bike, and he was like Tony. He got with a little group, and they rode bikes.
Mm-hmm.
He traveled all the time. Every last one of y'all
Yep.
can drive. You drive
Yep.
like him.
Yep.
Everybody drives like him.
Yep.
Curtis is the only one that's
It
slow.
looks like it.
Curtis look like him, but Curtis slow. Now, what I mean by that, Curtis drives slow like an old man. Now, when he was younger, I don't know, but now he drives like an old
Well,
man.
so do I. So that might be a blood.
Age thing.
Yeah, it might be.
That's age. But past that shit, he was always gone. Daddy was always gone, and we had to do what we had to do to survive because he wasn't that type of dude. He wasn't a father type. He liked making babies, but he didn't like taking care of them. And I don't know which one of y'all is like that, but somebody like it. Don't know who it is, but somebody.
Well, we've all at some point at least been single fathers. All four of us at some point that had our kids at least for a period of time.
Y'all.
Well, I'm talking about Doug on the phone and these three. These two and myself.
But I've been married all my life. After your dad, then I come along and start, took to him, and I've been married ever since. All of my sisters and brothers, I was their father at one time. Clean up and till I don't know when. And Darren, your dad was a motherfucker. I'm talking about growing up. Willem something else. That part, he took out the daddy women. Yeah, shit, your daddy, he was something else. I was just hoping you were gonna be like him.
Kinda. Just kinda.
Yeah,
Just kinda.
Yeah, but that's the way he was. He was a good brother and all that shit, but he was crazy. Shit.
I've heard some of his legends as a cab driver from cab drivers who worked with him.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
wouldn't lying. This boy used to run out there at the airport, man. And one time he got busted. This dude, I don't know where he was from, but Willie took him a long way around, and apparently the man had been here before. He busted Willie that day.
Hey, tell us about how, uh, like when you was a kid, when you got sick.
Oh, when I had rheumatic fever?
Yeah.
Well, I got rheumatic fever from living in the basement. That's the reason when anybody come here, you can come down here, you can sleep down here. But if you got some babies, they got to sleep upstairs. That was one thing that happened to me from sleeping in the basement. I caught rheumatic fever. The rheumatic fever was because it was damp down there. But me being small, I didn't know what was going on. And when I had rheumatic fever, we had to walk from the north side, from Franklin, over to City Hospital, which is on Park. I walked over there. My mother had to cut my shoes so I could have something on my feet. And I walk half a block, and then I'd have to sit down. And when we finally got there, about a week later, Daddy showed up with Tina, Mama. Y'all know Tina? Okay. That's when he showed up. And he come in and he wanted to know what was wrong. Now, if he had been the right kind of man, he would have took us over there because he had a car. But I walked from over there with my mother all the way to City Hospital. I stayed in the hospital from my 13th birthday through my 14th birthday.
Wow.
Over a solid
Over a year.
I stayed in the hospital. When Mom and them moved in over there in the project, I was in the ninth floor over there at City Hospital. I seen them move in.
Wow.
And I did that from the bed. I couldn't get out of bed. I stayed in the bed for a whole year. One solid year. And when I got out of the hospital, Mom and them didn't have no food and all this shit. And me, I wanted to get a job. So I had a college teacher who was coming to the house to teach me so I wouldn't be so far behind in school. But what he did, when he did teach me, when I went to school, they put me back because I knew the work. And they kept, at that time, there was a whole lot of prejudice going on in schools, which we don't have it now. But then, if I looked like I knew more than this white boy, they would fail me on purpose. Nobody did anything about it. And I knew more than the people in the grade that I was in. I knew more than what they knew. They pushed me up 2 years, 2 grades. And this one white teacher, Miss Droll, she put me back. She said, ain't no way I could know that because I was black. She didn't say that part, but that's what it was.
Right.
So she put me back. When I got out of high school, I got me a job. I worked nights, every night. All Saturdays and Sundays, I worked nights, so we could have enough money for my mother to feed us. And it was 8 of us. And it was 9 of us when his mother stayed with us, when Ola stayed with us. And my mother would take $65 and stretch it like it was $2,000. She really stretched it. We all ate. After I got a little bit older, then that's when I started driving a tractor trailer. I drove that for 10 years
Wow.
while Carla and Tony Maria was being born. And the reason I quit that is because dear mama told me if I didn't quit that over the road, they weren't gonna know me. And I come home one night and got in the bed, and Tony asked his mama, who was that man in the bed?
Oh wow.
Damn.
Oh wow. That'll break your heart, man.
So I had to quit that.
Man, that's real shit right there.
And I was off work, I think, for a year and a half. And then I got on with this insulation company, Hinges Insulation Company. And I worked that 16 years. And I worked that until they made me quit. I had insulation, fiberglass in my lungs, and they took an x-ray, and I was glowing like a light bulb on the inside. So I went to the doctor, the company doctor, and he told me, he said, I done kept you on as long as I could. He said, but now it's critical. He said, I can't make you quit. He said, but if you quit, you're going to live. If you stay here, you're going to die. He said, that's the choice you got. What kind of choice is that?
Right.
So I had to quit.
No debate.
Yeah, I had to quit. I was working off and on, driving for different people. And then T&E, Thomas Nello, I went to work for him. And I wanted to buy a truck. We went to Fort Wayne. We went to Michigan to try and find me a truck. But every time we found one, they had too many miles on it. So he said, TJ, well, why don't we go back and put you one together? So we did. Went to Joe Hotzi's. And that's when I built that, had that LTL put together. Not the LTL, the Sterling. Had it put together. And I drove that truck for 22 years. Mm. Yeah, and what stopped me from driving, I had cancer. I had lung cancer. Because I was smoking like 40 going west.
And then the fibers from the
yeah, all of that was
all that
still
compounding
in my lungs. Mm-hmm. And when I had cancer, that's when I really retired in 2010. I retired. I had 55 years running, different companies, 55 years.
Wow.
And when I retired, I really didn't want to, but I had enough time up to retire and all of that stuff, but I didn't want to quit because I enjoyed my job. But any job you have will kill you. No matter what, doing whatever it is, it'll kill you. But you can't think about that because you got a family or people relying on you. So you got to keep on going.
We got a couple sets of generations listening here. We got my generation, which would run, say, from 30 to 50, and then there's one who is 0 to 29. Looking back over the course of your life, what could you tell those two groups of people, any sort of, just anything that you could give those who are in their 20s, those who are in their 30s, those who are in their 40s, and those of us who are into, like your children, or approaching, like Fred and myself, their 50s? What can you give us that would that you could have used at those same ages?
For one thing, if my daddy had loved me, I'd have been a different person today.
That's deep. That's deep.
But he didn't. And not only that he didn't do it, he would let you know. Because you would feel like a fool if you told your son, I ain't got nothing for you. No matter what it is, you ain't supposed to tell your son that. Or any of your children that you ain't.
I heard that story. I heard that story from my father.
Let's hear the story.
So I can remember my dad telling me that he was probably 10 or 11 years old, and he was outside playing, and he saw his daddy walking up the street, and he had a wad full of money. He pulled out his money, started counting it, and he was like, Willie, you see all this money? He's like, yeah. He's like, you want some of this money, don't you? You want me to give you some of this money, don't you? He said, yeah. He said, well, when you get big, you can find yourself a job and get your own, because this is mine.
There you go. That's the type of guy he was. That's why I was talking like that. Now, That's what he told Willie. He told Willie a whole lot of other stuff. But see, Willie was what you say, gullible.
Idealistic.
He was gullible. Okay, you want to put that? Willie was gullible. He would tell Willie, "Don't tell your mama," you know. Willie zip it up.
But you wasn't going for it.
Hell no, I tell mama. Get my ass to her, but I told because I've always felt like he was wrong. And just like anybody today, if you got a wife, you treat her bad, you're wrong. And more than likely, she gonna treat you wrong. She gonna treat you bad. But you the head. You got to start the good, the bad, or whatever. And most men do. Sometimes they do it without knowing it. But they usually follow us. I got one upstairs. Same thing. But like I was telling you on outside, don't let them run you. If you read the Bible at any time, it tells you that you first.
Hey, Uncle, I got a question.
Go.
Do you like I know for me, my dad's absence caused me to commit to fathering my kids. Do you think Daddy's way of being is why you stayed married so long and kept your household together? I mean, do you think that had a direct relationship in your mind, or was you even aware of it?
Yes, it did reflect a lot on me, and it made me want to hold on tighter and do things differently than he did. In other words, I wanted to be what he wasn't. And I used to sing a song all the time, especially when he did something, I felt bad or something didn't go right. I used to sing all the time, Lord, don't let me be the man my father was. And I really meant that. And I so far, I've never been like him.
It's an interesting question because I went through a similar experience, father to son. I can remember times when, and I'm not bitter about this anymore, but I can remember times when we lived in Page, when my dad lived over off of Pennsylvania and Page. Shit, we were less than a mile away, and I might have seen him 2 or 3 times. Now, I do know my mom played a role in that. I do know that. But when I became a father, I never wanted my children to have that thing to say about me. So I understand where you're coming from with that. And to this day, they can't repeat anything out of their mouth that I can about my dad, you know. So I get that. Anybody else got a question?
Birth order.
Yes.
What do you mean?
From the oldest to the youngest, because there's a lot of questions about that, and we don't know.
Let me see your phone. Let me pull the app up so you can look at that birth order, and then you can tell us whether we got it right, if we missing somebody. Where's it at, B? Where you put it at? Pull it right there.
That's it right there.
That's it.
Is it right there? I can't. Oh, there it is. So it goes from Willie to you, Joe, Ola, Ip, May, Steve, Shelby, Valerie, Debbie.
Where you got Curtis at? Because see, Val and Curtis is right behind Ernest.
Okay.
Behind Ernest. I thought they were older.
No.
Okay, so my mom is older. So Valerie Brown, my mom is older than Curtis.
Yeah, well, no. Curtis is older than your mama, but they so close together.
Same year. They was born the same year.
I'd have to ask them, but they so close together.
All right, so we missed.
Hey, Gooch, by the way, you got the same situation with Ola and Ip. They was both born in 1948.
Okay.
Yeah. Ip, Ola is older than Ip.
Right? But they both in 1948, though.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we go to Ernest, Arthur, James, Tolan, Charlie. Like, I didn't even know Charlie Brown existed. I thought that. I didn't even know I had an older name Charlie.
Oh yeah.
Charlie, Cedric, then it's Tina, and then Calvin, Sheila, and then Will. Like Will younger than us. He like 33. I heard 30 something.
Lil Will?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was born in the 80s, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he's younger
born
than
in
us.
the 80s.
Yeah.
Because he was a teenager. I was just turning 20.
Yeah, my mom was like, "Hey, this is my brother." I was like, "What? Little young dude."
Where is he anyway?
Yeah. Is he still here? Anybody know anything about him?
Yeah, last time I talked to Curtis, he was out of jail, but he's running from the police because that girl, the white gal, has got child support against him. And he's jumping from job to job to keep from paying child support.
Oh, wow.
That's
Okay.
what Curtis told me.
So this ain't everybody. Who we missing? But they say it's 27.
Yeah, how many? What is as the
this-
remaining elder? How many siblings do you have?
Man, I had to go through all of them. I think it's actually 20. It's 25.
25.
25.
Yeah, because I got the oldest. Dad's oldest child is a girl.
Okay.
She got to be in her 80s.
Wow.
Somebody older than Will.
So that put him as a fifth. That means he was a teenager.
Willa is the second child on Daddy's side. Willa is the
That
second
means
child.
wow. That means he a teenager. He was a teenager.
Yeah, I think Daddy was. Don't get me wrong, but I think Daddy was 19. No, he was 18 when Willa was born. No, 17 when Willa was born, because Willa is 3 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 19 when I come along.
Wow.
And I think he was 19, 20, 20. I think 22 when Joe was born. But
Why did I always think Aunt Val was older than my dad?
I did too. All my life. All my life I did
you
too.
thought Val was older than Willie?
No, older than Ernest.
No.
Yeah, I
Val
did too.
just turned 60.
See,
Oh, Ernest is 60.
Well, she'd be 61.
Oh, he's 60.
He's 60.
My daddy's 60.
Okay. This is Ernest here.
Ask him how old he is.
I think. No. Hello?
When people talk about that his guitar,
Hello? Yeah, Ernest, how old are you? 60 what? He's 60. He was right. You should have stayed over here. We could have got some of your input.
Yeah, I know, man, but I got some things to do. I'm just getting home.
All right, that sounds like a personal problem to me.
Yeah, well, I'm just
80
getting to the
minutes.
crib. I got some stuff to do, so I have to come home and get ready to go do it.
All right. Well, I got you out of going to work today. I got you out of going to work today.
I know, but now that I didn't go to that work, I got some more work I could do. So,
All right, well, do what you do.
all right,
All right,
later.
later. All right, come on with it. What's his name? Well, like I say, the oldest girl was older than Willie.
What's her name?
Shit,
Where's she at?
I don't know where she at. I looked for her over the years. And every time I went down there to Mississippi, they followed her all the way through school. But after she got out of school, she got married. And they asked me, who did she marry? I couldn't tell them.
But she went to school in Mississippi?
Yeah.
Indianola?
Sunflower.
Sunflower,
Okay.
Mississippi?
So give us the history as far as where you are. Like
Geographic areas where we originate.
Okay. Daddy come out of Cleveland, Mississippi.
Okay.
My mother came out of the hills. What they call them?
Mount Beulah? Mount Beulah?
No. I can't call her name. I remember it. But Ola, she come out of Indianola. That's what his boy he was born at. Him and his brother and his sister, all of them come out of that Illinois.
Right.
See, Cedric come out of Gary. Sheila is still in Gary. Charlie come out of Chicago. Me and Willie, we come out of Sunflower and Moorhead because I was born on the dividing line, directly on the dividing line. Willie was born on the Mississippi side. I was born on the Sunflower side. Like,
Arkansas?
no, Sunflower County is in Mississippi.
Okay.
Willie was born in the Mississippi part. I was born directly on the
Tennessee
line,
side.
but I was more on the Sunflower side, but it's all Mississippi. And Joe was born here. Ernest Val May was born at Homer G. Phillips, here in the city. Me and Willie was the only two that,
Came from
of
Mississippi.
mama's
What about
side
Ip?
out of Mississippi. It was born here.
And Shelby?
Shelby was born here.
Okay. All right.
What? Uncle Joe was born where? Was he out of
City Hospital.
City Hospital there, or was that Homer G too?
Homer G. That blacks didn't go to city.
Well, I was born in city.
That was-
Yeah,
Yeah, but
look
look
how
at the
many
difference.
years later.
Yeah. 20 years later.
But,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying, at that time, if you was black, you was
Went to
born
Homer
Homer
G.
G. Phillips.
Gotcha.
Everybody went to Homer G. Phillips. That's the gun hospital, and
Here's a question. About when did about when did the migration take place from Mississippi to St. Louis, and why St. Louis, if you know?
that's where my mother wanted to come, and she had heard that St. Louis was booming. And when I was little, that's when she moved here. I was a baby.
Okay.
Joe wasn't born yet. He
Okay.
was on his way, but he wasn't here yet. And that's why he was born here. And I was the last one born down south.
So Granny was pregnant when y'all migrated with Joe. Okay.
All right. So her legend and a lasting effect from my purview that she left on the family was this creativity with hair. Did she ever do anything else besides that?
At one time, which wasn't very much, she worked at a restaurant. Same as, matter of fact, it was the same restaurant Curtis' mama
Wow.
worked at.
Wow.
And they knew each other.
Wow.